Napoli fans, welcome to Napoli Talk. And Napoli have qualified for the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League. Guys, I know it was just Braga. I know this was maybe a boring game, but can we just focus on the fact that we got 3 points? It's been a while. It's been a while. I will take these 3 points, all right? And it's a clean sheet. Do you guys know how many games it's been since a clean sheet? A lot. The answer is a lot. More than I would like to admit. All right. So, guys, the fact that we got this win, it's crucial. The fact that Meret didn't concede a goal, it's crucial. Natan stepping up at left back, that's also crucial, guys, because I feel like this is the type of game that can give a lot of these players some individual confidence, which will then make the entire team play much better. I think we're underestimating the impact that this game could have. If we just think about the fact that maybe it was underwhelming. I mean, some of these players really needed to have just an individual clean game, no mistakes, not concede a goal. And for the defense, guys, I'm sure that this game was super, super, super important. So, yes, underwhelming, but I think that this is one of those games that we could look back on, and hopefully this is the start of a bit of a streak. We've got Cagliari coming up. The games are much more manageable now. This is the type of game that I think can really propel. I don't know what you guys think. And definitely, Natan is the MVP. No need to go to the player ratings, guys. He's at the bottom of the screen. What a performance from this man. Mazzarri was saying in the pre-match conferences that he would like to see Natan push up the field a bit more because that could also help Kvara play better. He would have more support. We talked about it last game, how that was missing from Natan. And this game, from the get go, he was pushing on the left, taking risks. And hey, if your manager tells you to take some risks, you go and you take some risks. And if things don't go well, that's on him, right? Natan took those instructions and really showed us that he's got quality. He's got real quality. He's got pace. He's got a good cross. I think he can read the game well. He's a natural risk taker, in my opinion. And yeah, I like the guy. I mean, I think he's got quality. We reviewed him over the summer, and we said how he actually is a very good crosser of the ball. Did a few nice crosses against Juve and Inter actually, and today finally got an assist on two goals that, yeah, they were super lucky, guys. Let's admit when things kind of go our way, but that's also super important for the team, guys, because I think this team had gone through a phase where we were getting super unlucky, where other teams would have one lucky shot and it would go in, where we would hit the post, where we would just just things wouldn't fall our way. The ball would bounce a bit strange in front of us, and to finally then have a game where things do go our way, psychologically, guys, I think that's massive because now the players know that the universe is not against them. And even though that sounds really silly, it's really silly, but in the heads of some of these players, I think it's important to know that, hey, maybe the tides are turning. Maybe we don't have to fight against the odds, that things can actually work out even with a bit of luck. Um, Payman, thank you for the 4.99 donation. Says honestly, I saw no progress and dread facing Man City or Bayern. Prefer Natan Osti in defense and Zerbin Zanoli as left back. Why is Lindstrom not playing? Look, Zerbin, it's better that we never see him on a football field again. In terms of progress, I think there were areas that we're still not improving on. For example, and this is where I agree with you. For example, I think we're still way too fragile with crosses coming in. We basically lose every single header from crosses that come in. I still don't feel like we're very smooth up at the top. In fact, the two goals that we scored were quite lucky. I did see some progress in the fact that we've got a left back with Natan now that if he continues to push forward like this can be a real problem. The way that the goal happened actually was quite intelligent. We'll take a look at that in the screenshots later. Um, so mixed feelings on the whole progress aspect. I think we're underestimating the fact that we did get a clean sheet. I think that's important. But yeah, I hope that this team can find its flow more so than what we showed today, because this is definitely not enough when we face bigger teams, and we saw that very recently against Inter and Juve. But I wouldn't agree that there's zero progress. I mean, this is not yet at the Spalletti level, but it's better than the Garcia level for sure. Hey, what's up? Hello. Didn't see the game, but I like the result. Don't worry, we'll go over everything together. Paul Derigan says we should consider starting someone and Raspi against starting Simeone and Raspi against the weak Cagliari. Tired of all the awards with nothing on the pitch. If the awards are about Osimhen's award, man, look, there was this huge thing on social media about, oh, why did Osimhen fly to Marrakesh to grab his award when we've got a Champions League game, a very important Champions League game coming up. I mean, guys, football players fly out for awards all the time. For a Ballon d'Or, for the FIFA Men's Player Award. I don't know why when it's Osimhen's turn to win an award, which by the way is like a once in a lifetime thing. Um, why such a big deal? I mean, he showed up, did his job, scored a goal, lucky, but scored a goal. So yeah, good job, Natan. Napoli needed this win after their rough past week. Yeah, guys. I mean, it's important. I think sometimes there's games where performance really matters. Other games where it's the result that really matters. Today, it was one of the games where the result really mattered. Getting a not just a win, but getting a clean sheet, like, guys, the psychological benefit that this will be massive. And sometimes these players just need a bit of confidence, just need a bit of belief in themselves, knowing that they can come away with a clean sheet from a game will do them a world of good. It's sounds stupid to say. We love talking about tactics, tactical things, technical things. The psychological aspect of some of this is also super important, and we have to consider it, and hopefully that it plays in our favor now. It still does not look promising that we have chance winning Champions League when we play like this. Kvara and Osi, what happened to their shooting, and other players also. Again, this is, I mean, the Kvara thing. What happened to his shooting? It's just a psychological barrier, in my opinion, at this point, where he's taking a bit too much time thinking about where he needs to place the ball. He's losing his instinct, and when you lose that, then you lose that half a second that you would normally have in your favor, and it allows goalkeepers and defenders to do what they need to do to save the shots. But once one or two goals will start going in, then you will see him just be a bit more natural, and then it will be a snowball effect, and that's what I hope is going to happen with our defense. You just get one or two clean sheets, even if they're a bit lucky, and all of a sudden they start believing that they're better players. They get their confidence back, and things will go well. Matt Crosina, hi from Australia, Melbourne. Hello, man. I guess you're waking up to go to work or study. So that's a nice way to start the day with a nice result. I somehow missed the game, got it. I had it in my calendar that it was Wednesday. Yeah, these Champions League games, man. You never know whether it's Wednesday or Tuesday. How was the game itself? Napoli dominated. We conceded a few chances to Braga, but I think this was maybe too many chances, and we'll see that later. Too many chances, but I think this was also based off the fact that Braga needed to win by at least 2 goals to pass the group, and so it was natural that they were going to be overly attacking and put bodies in the box. And This was always going to cause problems for Napoli, but to have come away with a clean sheet when Braga needed literally 2 goals to win, and they were going for that, huge credit, huge credit. And I want to see the positive in that today. Also because we criticized Napoli a lot. And also, we tend to criticize players, and I will do that even today. We tend to criticize players, for example, like Kvara, who is the youngest player on the team, is the one that's getting paid the least out of all the starters. And so, should it really be Kvara that is coming to save us? Maybe not, even though he's the most talented. We should be looking at some other players and pointing the finger more at them. Having said that, I will talk about Kvara's defensive attitude, which I don't think is good enough at times, and we will talk about that in just a bit. I don't get why Juan Jesus is starting ahead of Ostigar. We need someone who can win headers at the back. Um, I do agree with this one, that we need someone that wins headers at the back. I personally think that if Natan is starting at left back, um, maybe Ostigar should replace Rahmani rather than Juan Jesus. I think having the Brazilians together is really helping Natan grow. This, I mean, again, it goes back to these football players just being human beings, and it's not like FIFA where if someone is 86 rated and someone's 82 rated, you go for the guy who's 86 regardless of what's around him. It doesn't really work like that in real life. In real life, I think Natan being able to communicate fluently with Juan Jesus maybe brings a bit more solidity at the back. Because maybe if he were to talk with Ostigard and him don't speak well Italian. Maybe Natan doesn't even speak good English. They don't know how to communicate, and then it's just maybe not as effective. And Juan Jesus can maybe give Natan some tips as things are happening during the game from his experience that would otherwise not be possible. And guys, just because Juan Jesus is not anymore a good player doesn't mean he doesn't know how to be a good defender and communicate those things to Natan. I mean, if Juan Jesus is not a good player now, it's also because he's past his prime, he's past his peak, and he physically can't keep up, and he's trying to compensate. But that doesn't mean that he can't be a good mentor and coach to Natan. Um, so maybe that's why they're playing together. Um, Also, to compensate a bit of a lack of experience from Natan, then you put a more experienced Juan Jesus next to him as a center back. What I would do at that point, though, is I would put Ostigard instead of Rahmani because Rahmani cannot win a header. Um, so yeah, I'm almost tempted to have a back line of Di Lorenzo, Ostigard, Juan Jesus, Natan, rather than um, what you guys are saying, which is to take off Juan Jesus completely. Even though Juan Jesus, I mean, you guys know I don't like him. What happens at this stage? Now we wait for the next 8 teams to qualify, and then we'll see. We'll have to play against one of the teams that finished top of the group. Kvicha is reminding me of Insigne at the moment. Yeah, there's an element of truth to that. That there was a point where Insigne was not getting the goals. He was forcing things a bit too much. But Insigne was, when we were criticizing Insigne, it was because he was getting paid the highest salary, or the highest, and he had 8, 9 years of experience in the team. So you expect that kind of player to be a leader, to get you out of situations, and to not make mistakes that are almost amateurish mistakes, which is when you try a bit too hard. And everybody knows with a certain level of experience that actually you just need to focus on playing the game the way you always play when things go well, without forcing things too much. Instead, inexperienced players tend to try to overcompensate and overdo things, and that's maybe what Kvara is doing right now. And it's something that Insigne was doing, and it's like, why was Insigne doing it at his age? Hello, bro. Forza Napoli from Thessaloniki, Greece. Hey, from Greece, man. That's not something I hear very often. So, uh, hello from Greece. There. I'm going to be honest. I don't like Natan. Okay, he's not good for a team that wants to win the Italian league. I think he can develop. He's young. He's a bit inexperienced, but he's young. He's got height, he's got determination, a good slide tackle, a good header of the ball. He needs to work on a few things, I'm sure. But I think we can work with it. I think he's got the raw material that you can make something nice out of Natan. I honestly do believe that. But obviously, he's not ready to the same point that Kim Min Jae is ready. And a lot of people make the mistake in thinking that Kim Min Jae was just some random guy that came and he burst onto the scene at Napoli. That's not true at all. Kim Min Jae was playing for his national team, South Korea. He had won the Turkish league at Fenerbahce, played in a team like Fenerbahce, which is super demanding, super tough to play, super intense home crowd. So this was not a guy who came out of nowhere. Kim Min Jae was an established player that a lot of people had been sleeping on, and the only fault he had was that he wasn't already playing for one of the top 8 teams in Europe. These players can't make a decent cross, and also Di Lorenzo pullbacks are so poor. Osimhen was free a lot tonight. Better decisions. Yes, the Di Lorenzo crosses have to improve. I said it last week as well. I tweeted it last week as well. I 100% agree with you. Di Lorenzo is great at making overlapping runs. He's great at finding passes into the channel. He's great at getting into position. Sometimes getting into the box as the receiver of a cross, he's great. But what he can't do is find a cross, man. He cannot cross the ball. And yeah, I mean, Kvara scored off one of his crosses 3 weeks ago, but that's really a very rare thing to see. I think maybe if you go take a look at his stats, 1 in 10 crosses from Di Lorenzo will actually reach destination. I'm not saying though that's our biggest problem. It's not. Di Lorenzo's a great player for Napoli. If there's 10 things in the game that he does well, this is the one thing that he doesn't do so well. So, we can't criticize him too much for that. But it is something that he needs to improve on for sure. Um, let's see now, however, how the game evolved. Sure to smash that like button. There's a like follow. Make sure you smash that like button. I need your help to make these live streams grow. It's also my birthday in 2 days, so if you want to just smash a like button because it's your boy's birthday, then do so. Um, so the analysis, guys, of the game, and this is where I don't want to criticize Kvara. I don't want to. I don't want to single him out. The objective of this next analysis is to show you guys that the defense is struggling because, okay, maybe they're not the best defenders. Maybe they don't read the game very well themselves, but also because the players in the midfield and the strikers are not helping them out the way that they should be. Well, I got a feeling Napoli will draw Bayern tonight with Kim. Now that would be nice. But turning all right, you've got the Napoli center backs that are and Di Lorenzo that are tightly marking their respective um, men that they need to mark, the Braga attackers. And then you've got Natan, who is tight with Rachmani, where he should be. And the guy on the ball, he's got him right in front of him. All right. Now, there's someone that is about to make a run in behind the Braga player with the ball and right in front of Kvara. So Kvara should see this run and he should put himself in a position to help out Natan, because the problem with Natan now is that he's got two options. Does he go and close the guy with the ball, or does he go wide and try to anticipate a pass into the space? And honestly, a pass into the space now would be devastating for Napoli, because it would put that player right through on goal to either shoot or make one of those really dangerous pullbacks. So the problem that Natan has here is that Kvara is being lazy in defending this, and that player makes the run. Natan has to step to the side, and it creates a gap where Natan was, which the player with the ball is going to exploit. And actually, he does a very good job to realize that the ball is not going to be played down the channel, and then takes a step back, sticks a leg out, and blocks the ball. But if this had gone in, people would have said, "Oh, Natan's defending is really bad. Napoli can't defend." But this all starts because Kvara is not helping out. Kvara's just standing there. And again, I don't want to focus things on Kvara. The point is not to criticize Kvara. The point is to say that Napoli's defensive struggles are also because of the midfield and attacking players. This is an example, but it applies to Politano, it applies to Kvara, it applies to Anguissa, it applies to Lobotka. We can basically trace almost every single Napoli goal that we've conceded to one of our midfielders not being in position, and not being in position, whether because of themselves, whether Lautaro tackles Lobotka and VAR says that it's fine. In either one of those cases, there's always a Napoli midfield being where they need to be. Um, but yeah, Uncle Sharma, man, Inter did well. They won their games in the Serie A. Keep winning. Maybe maybe with a bit of where 50-50 calls go their way. I'm not saying things are match fixed. I'm just saying the 50-50s happen to go their way a lot this season, which ultimately make the difference because they happen to come usually at a time when the score is still tied. So in the end, that changes the games. But anyways, Inter go through also in their group. I heard it wasn't a very entertaining game, but in the end, Inter are going to be a team that nobody wants to get in the Champions League, guys. I think people will be looking at that team as the one that they don't want from second place, because Inter, if I'm not mistaken, they are in second place, right? Let me see this Champions League. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see this Champions League standings. Inter second place. So none of the top teams will want to get Inter, guys. That's gonna be super difficult for the likes of Real Madrid, Arsenal, Bayern, all these guys. Copenhagen, guys, Copenhagen managed to pass. That's crazy to me. The fact that they went and they beat Galatasaray, that is such a shock. And guys, Galatasaray, let's not forget, has the likes of Icardi, Zaha, Torreira, Muslera, Mertens, of course. Like, this is a good team. And Copenhagen is the surprise package of the year. Are they going to be able to pull an Ajax of a few years ago? I don't think so. I really don't. But it's interesting to see that this team has been able to get points against the likes of Galatasaray. They got a draw against Bayern. They won against Man United. This is a very tough team to beat. But let's go back to Napoli Braga. We'll continue the PowerPoint slides of the tactical analysis later. Whilst we're at this, I just want to maybe say something about the stats of the game. Braga got 19 shots to Napoli's 9. And that really is a testament to Braga's not desire, but need to go and score some goals today to try to qualify. We conceded a lot of shots. Didn't have to make too many saves, but guys, a lot of the shots that they did have were dangerous. I mean, one of them hit the post. A few of them they should have really done better from close range. So maybe defensively, we were a bit lucky by not conceding a goal. And we were definitely lucky to score the ones that we did score. But as I said, guys, this is one of the few games this season that we've had any sort of luck. But yeah, credit to Braga because they're not a bad team. They're not a bad team. More pass accuracy than us, more corners than us. Um, Basically, literally the same amount of passes, 462 and 461. Possession pretty much equal. I mean, they're not a bad team. And if you go and take a look at where they stand in Portugal, if we go to the Liga Portugal, I mean, they're right there with Sporting Porto and Benfica in a very, very, very interesting title race, guys. This is a title race that we haven't seen in a long time in Portugal, with all the four, let's say, big teams being there. There's always two. Well, sometimes there's two. There's always Benfica, Porto. Sometimes Sporting is there. Now Braga is there as well, who's who's you know fighting for the title. So credit to them because they wasted a lot of resources on us, but also this is a team that plays very well. And then if you take a look at how many goals they've scored, guys, take a look at that. Goals for Braga, 36 goals. That's 12 more than Benfica, 15 more than Porto. And these are historically the two best teams in Portugal. Like Braga is a team that scores a lot of goals. It's no coming off the back of 4 wins. So it's no surprise that they managed to do so well against us in terms of the stats of the game, in terms of getting 19 shots on us. So I hope that puts Braga into context because maybe a lot of people uh, think that Braga is a bad team. It's couldn't be further from the truth. Couldn't be further from the truth. They're not a bad team. They're not a bad team. So let's go on a little bit with the slideshow, and then I'll get to some of your comments, guys. But make sure that you keep smashing the like button and keep commenting, guys. Not enough of you have been hitting the like button, by the way. Not enough. All right. There's a lack of a button on, which is disappointing. This and go to the remote and or touch with your phone to press the like button. But I need you to do that. I need you to do that, guys. Uh, it's that easy. It's that simple. I need you to do that. Anyways, let's move on. Um, let's move on to our goal, guys. I guess positive thing we can say about our goal is the only positive thing I can say goal is that we moved the ball very quickly from throw Politano. If there's one thing that he's improved massively over the years is the fact that he's now getting into the final edge of the field and crossing with his right foot. So he's less predictable. He can do right and left. What we did talk about a few weeks ago is the fact that he's only able to do this from more or less that position. He's not able to cross from further deep with his right foot just because he doesn't have the accuracy or the power into the cross to do it. But when he does manage to get either on the edge of the box or inside the box with his right foot, he's able to put just enough power to make a serious cross. And the defender here, guys, I don't even know what he did here to score this goal. I think if you try that 100 times, you're not gonna get a similar result. So that's what happened, guys. That's what happened with the goal. Uh, Natan, guys, played an exceptional game. Going forward, here I love this piece where he showed his defensive quality, his main quality, which is the slide tackle. I think it's a bit of a lost art, but Natan is, I wouldn't say a master at it, but very talented with it. Slide tackles inside of Braga's own half, gets up. I mean, this photo is beautiful. Gets up, picks out a pass to Kvara, and then Kvara kind of messes it up a little bit. But this is what Natan can give you as a left back, and that's where he actually started his career as a left back before moving to center back. If he keeps playing like this, I'd prefer him as a left back, to be honest. Let's get Tom. I said it earlier. The only thing that bothers the proper mistake. He up. That's something he needs to put a stop to be honest. I I agree and I disagree. I mean, I think there's moments where you definitely need to tell your teammates that they could have done better, but there's ways and ways to do it, right? I mean, if you were gonna scream at them every time, even if it was a hard pass to pull off or there was no way they would have seen you, then maybe not so much. But then again, these elite strikers, these top strikers, they demand the best. They demand it because they know that if they can get a chance, they can put it in the back of the net, and they need to keep their teammates on their toes. And you will see the best strikers do this. You will see Lewandowski, Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, Drogba, all these guys used to do that where they're just so demanding on their teammates. But yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't cross the line in terms of respect, then that's fine. And the teammates themselves know that this is just a matter of Osimhen being very hyper competitive, and they don't take it personally. I don't think. Meret, I want to mention the fact that he had a good save. Nothing, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. Not a world class save because it was quite central, but one that I'm gonna for the cameras. And again, it's all about getting confidence again and just slowly building it up. Trying to go for the world class save or expecting that, maybe it's not time for that right now. Let's just make sure that he's able to stop the ones that are easy to stop, and then let's build because it's clear that he's the number one goalkeeper. If Mazzarri was gonna put Golini, it would have happened by now. So we gotta stick with Meret and let's support him at this point because no amount of criticism is gonna is gonna put Golini in goal because we tried that. We tried. We had a conversation about Meret. Everybody did, and it wasn't enough. So we might as well do the opposite strategy and give him support when it's deserved. Obviously, I'm not gonna give him support if he messes up, but when he does do something decent, let's let's make sure to point it out. Um, but Meret, objectively speaking, is not good enough. I mean, he lacks some basic goalkeeping attributes, guys. There's nothing that we can say. We can't hide it. He lacks command of his 6 yard box. He doesn't come out enough. Yeah, not good enough. Matt is generally good, and he has cost us goals here and there. Just not the top level we need as Serie A champions. He's inconsistent. Yeah, that I think sums it up for me. He's a decent goalkeeper. He's he's a guy that you would expect to find in a team like Fiorentina or Lazio, like totally respectable teams, but that's not where Napoli needs to be or wants to be. Napoli wants to be in the top 8 of the Champions League. They want to be in the top 2 of the Serie A, and you really need a goalkeeper that not just is good, but a goalkeeper that makes the difference. That when you are at 0-0, you know that if the opposition has a striker through on goal, you know there's at least a 50-50 chance he's going to save it. And with Merit, I just don't get that feeling. Um, did you see the video of UA fans talking about Napoli? Asks Mike. First of all, thanks for the donation. No, haven't seen it. Honestly, I've got too much to do than to see Juventus videos. To be honest, and Anthony says, yeah, once Meret lost the spot to Spina, he was never the same keeper. And again, it was a lot to do with a lot to do with psychology and being consistent and all that. And I think when Meret's best moments with Napoli came at the start of last season when Ospina left and Napoli had Sirigu to replace Ospina, and Sirigu was really not there to push Meret. Sirigu was just there literally as as a backup, and never really Meret never really saw him as competition, and that's when Meret was clear in his head, didn't feel the pressure, and was just playing good football, making saves, improving. Then we let go of Sirigu in December because he wanted playing time at Fiorentina or whatever. Um, and we brought in Gollini, a young goalkeeper, more or less Meret's age. And then again, people now were like, oh, well, there's this young goalkeeper here who's quite good, has been with the national team as well. Why don't we give him a chance? And Meret never really lost his seat to Gollini, but I think he started feeling the pressure that if he were to have made a mistake, he could have lost the seat to Golini. Um, and that played psychologically on him. And then, so as soon as we got Golini, then Meret wasn't good again, or not as good as he was when he just had a very clearly established second goalkeeper behind him. So, yeah, I think that Meret's biggest problem is just a psychological one of feeling the pressure of his spot getting taken. And yeah, um, I agree with Arsene. Kvara is naturally talented, but still lacks some experience. I think some of his decision making could be improved. And I think he's trying a bit hard, like I said earlier. But I think he is essential part of our system. He's the only player that didn't get subbed to today. Played the entire 90 minutes. Mazzarri trusts him. He gets one or two chances a game to score, which is on average what most wingers get in top teams. Um, and by central, I think you mean like central to the project, not in his position. So he is important to the project. I think maybe what Kvara needs right now is just a bit of maybe just a bit of extra support from Napoli in terms of, okay, you're having a rough patch, but we believe in you, and here's a salary increase because he's only earning 1 million a year. And I don't know why today I'm so focused on this psychological aspect, but I do think that that's our biggest problem because, man, guys, these guys are good. They're talented. They're good players. And the only explanation I can give myself as to why they're not the same as last year is the fact that they're feeling the pressure, and maybe some of them don't feel that they've been compensated well enough for what they did last season. And maybe they fear that the best is behind them already, um, and all that. And maybe we just need Napoli as a club to just make them realize that it's okay, it's fine. Here's your increase. Here's your salary that matches your value. We got you. We're taking care of you. Don't worry that you've had 6 months off. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Let's go to this screenshot here, which is another example of Napoli not defending so well. And what I liked about this one is that, okay, so Braga passed the ball in between the channel. And again, we see that Kvara loses his man, but to be fair to him, there's the number two at the bottom, so not so easy to decide between staying wide and cutting in. But what I like about this is a few seconds later, when Meret picks up the ball and starts yelling at Kvara. Um, and I like this because of a few things. One, it means that I'm not the only one that's seeing this, the fact that the midfielders are maybe not being tight enough, but it's the players themselves, such as Meret, who's realizing this as well. And secondly, I like the fact that Meret is showing some personality and is trying to be a leader of the mid of the defense, no, and reminding players of their defensive duties. Again, I don't want to pick on Kvara. It just so happened to be that Braga were attacking more on that side, but this also happens on the left. Do you want an experienced keeper like how Inter? I think experienced goalkeepers are an option. Um, Young goalkeepers, first of all, goalkeepers are good until even 37, 38, in my opinion. And by the time they're 30, you could say that they're quite experienced. So even an experienced goalkeeper, actually, you can use him for 5, 6, 7 years, which is very unique because that's not really the case with, let's say, fullbacks who maybe, or wingers especially, which maybe by the time they're 30 and they've got experience, they start losing some of their key attributes such as speed. Um, Whereas goalkeepers actually they tend to improve as they get older. We've always had very good experienced goalkeepers in the past. Pepe Reina, um, De Santis, Ospina, they've always done really well for us. I think that in general, defenders prefer to have experience over youth behind them. But hey, let's see. Let's see. Maybe I can make a poll. Maybe I can make a poll. That's a great idea, actually. So, if we get a new goalkeeper, do you want um, young, fresh talent or experienced, young, fresh talent, let's say with higher potential, or experienced with maxed with with like 85 out of 100 rating. Yeah, so fresh talent with higher potential. Let me put this poll. All right. This is a very it's a very FIFA like poll, like, oh, 85 out of 100. But I mean, you guys get what I mean, right? Like a goalkeeper a bit like Ospina, basically. Like, would you rather buy an Ospina, a guy that is experienced but he's not going to improve past 85 out of 100, or do you want to go for a guy who's at 75, 80, but he's like 22 and could potentially be the next Buffon and you keep him for the next 20 years, which is kind of what we tried um, with Meret, you know. So it'd be interesting to see on that one. So yeah, Paul Rican says his first goal contribution this year was through the middle. That was against Sassuolo, for example, where he made that. His wonder goal against Sassuolo last year was through the middle. I think that was against Atalanta, his wonder goal. Hold down on the wings, and everybody knows. I do agree with Puerto Rican that Kvara should go down the middle. It's something that I said for the first time last year, especially in the game against Milan, where he was getting marked so heavily by Calabria. I said, man, like Calabria is your kryptonite. It's your weak spot. You need to go down the middle when you face those kind of those kind of teams, um, or those kind of players that for whatever reason know how to play against you a bit more than average. And I think that he's a great player to have down the middle, and we should utilize that. But there's moments where he should stay wide, and we'll see that later. Danger says the Georgian goalkeeper would be very good for Napoli, but he would cost too much for them. I saw him play last weekend with Valencia, and he was man of the match. Kept a clean sheet, man of the match. Quite good, quite good. Right, let's get to Napoli's I think best action of the match. This was actually Kvara passing it down to passing it back to Politano, and Politano passing it to Zielinski. And then Zielinski here took a shot, but actually Osimhen was free. And Osimhen was free a lot of times, and his teammates didn't pick him out. I don't think it's about selfishness or they don't want to pass to Osimhen. I mean, if you take a look at the replay, Zielinski had to work a lot with the ball to get rid of the defender, and his head was down the entire time. He didn't see Osimhen. I'm sure if he saw Osimhen, he would have passed it. But what I really liked about this passage of play is it kind of goes back to, oh, let's bring Kvara in the middle because he's so good. It's not really about bringing Kvara to the middle. It's just about bringing more people in the middle. And that doesn't matter whether it's Kvara, it doesn't matter whether it's Politano, it doesn't matter whether it's Zielinski. Like at times, we just need to bring more players closer to each other in the middle because these are all very technical players that can play quick passes in tight spaces, that know how to make runs, and we need to make the most of that. And that has proven successful at times with Kvara. Politano has done that quite a few times as well, and we've analyzed it in these videos before, where even Politano in through the middle is actually a very good asset because these are all players that have skill, that have talent, and there's times when it's really good to have them all bunched up, and the defenders just do not know how to handle that because there's just so much talent going on down there, and it's like prime tiki taka. Other times, instead, they have to remain wide, and we'll get to that with Napoli's goal. So this is Napoli's goal, and this is an example of where you should stay wide. Look at how wide Politano, Osimhen, and Kvara are, and this is planned. This is not this goal is not random. They were so wide, uh, and that was to create the gap between the center back and the right back of Braga, because if Politano stays over there and Osimhen over there, they occupy three out of the four defenders. And if Kvara also stays wide, then all of a sudden you have a gap, a massive gap that one of your teammates can exploit. But if they were to be more central at this stage of where the ball is, then you wouldn't have this gap, right? Um, so that was super important. But what's also really important is that this only really works if you overload the opposite side of where the ball is. And you do that by moving the ball very quickly from the right to the left. And you keep everybody on the right. So if you draw a white line across the field from the center of the Napoli box to the center of the Braga box, you would see that all the players are on one side of the field, except the two that are going to be combining and linking up for the goal. And that's what really creates the space. So basically, there's all this space on this left hand side for Napoli because they've put all their players, all their other players on the right, and they've forced Braga to cover that area and leave the left hand side wide open. And this is something that I tweeted last week. I think it was against. I can't remember if it was against Inter or Juve, but they were doing that a lot. And I said Napoli is attacking very hard on the right hand side, putting everybody there so that they can switch the ball very fast towards Kvara, where he would find then some space. And this is a great example and a great shot of the field where you can actually see this happen. This is called overloading, and it's something that Napoli did really well. And we hadn't actually seen too much of this under Garcia or under Spalletti. This is something new that Mazzarri is bringing to the team. So when I think it was Payman earlier who said, I don't see any improvements. Well, there are things actually that we are doing quite well. Guys, if you are liking the video, if you are liking the analysis, um, then make sure that you smash the like button because I guarantee you, I guarantee you, you will not be finding this type of analysis anywhere else. Uh, whether you use Sky, whatever you use, post match review, they will not be going this much into detail on Napoli games. So, um, smash that like button so that I continue to do this. Because if you don't smash it, then I will assume that you don't like this, and then I will stop. So smash the like button. Anyways, so that happens. They play a nice 1-2 into the space. Natan remembers that he's a Brazilian and gets past his defender as if he's not there, and then puts in a great pass for Osimhen, who does well to stay on side, and somehow manages to get the ball in the back of the net. And there's a huge element of fortune there. But again, I think it's something that we needed. It's long overdue, and it's good for the players to know that they can also score with a bit of luck. Um, Let me get some more comments. Um, I don't think any of our players, to be honest, our front three are liabilities to Napoli. I would say they're all assets to Napoli, and it's just a matter of getting them into form, get them clicking. But guys, for this goal that we just saw, all three of them played a part. Even Politano, who didn't touch the ball, the fact that he knew to position himself there, he played a part. And I think a lot of what some of these players do goes unnoticed. And I hope that with these videos we can bring some of those things to light. Um, let's see, by the way, the poll that we did. I'm going to end it there. It's quite 50-50, so inconclusive, really, to whether we should get an inexperienced or young goalkeeper. L.K is saying that he would sell, I think it's Kvara, for 85 million. I think it all depends, right, on whether we're talking about um, this being a standalone, we just sell Kvara, or whether it's regardless of what we do with Osimhen. I think if you sell both Kvara and Osimhen, that's a huge risk. If you sell just one of them, whether it's Kvara or Osimhen, maybe you can try to make the team better in the spots that it needs to be better with that money. But honestly, I I have a feeling that these players, both of them, are worth more than 100 million, to be honest. And 85 just seems a bit on the low side. I think every has a price tag. Even Jude Bellingham has a price tag. So I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm never. That's just unrealistic. If a huge offer comes in, you got to do it. But 85 is too little. You also have to consider how low his salary is. So if you think about how much Kvara is costing Napoli, it's only 1 million a year. So why get rid of a player who's costing you only 1 million a year to operate, as opposed to maybe Osimhen, who costs roughly 5 million a year. Actually, if we consider gross salaries, so what the club has to pay net to the player plus tax, Osimhen is in the region of 7, 8, maybe 6, depending on the law, million, whereas Kvara is at most 2 million. So one one player is not the same as the other in terms of how much they cost to have on the team. So when you think about which one you're going to get rid of, you got to think of the offer that comes, but also on the salary that they have, and which one you're more willing to let go. And honestly, it would make more economic sense to sell Osimhen, who would get both a higher offer and is having a higher salary, than it would to sell Kvara, honestly. Um, and I think that also for Osimhen, it's come to a point where he's now already a few seasons in, and I think he'd also be wanting to look for a new challenge. And he's more proven than Kvara. He's won now the African Best Player of the Year. Um, he could argue that he's proven himself, whereas Kvara had a good 6 months for Napoli, great 6 months, but I think he still has to take it to that next level and really, really prove to the world that he's the best in that position. I don't know how he can do that because in Europe there's a lot of good players in that position, but maybe he just needs a season with like 20 goals and 20 assists. And then maybe you could say, okay, he's better than Vinicius. But right now, I think he's still a step down. Do you think Jude is the best player right now? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. With like go to the next step. Like Jude Bellingham is literally every every week now scoring goals or assisting. He's doing it in the big stage in the Champions League. He's doing it for the national team. Kvara is like one step below, which is still very high. Like this is still like guys, there's 5, 6 players in the world that I think are top level, and Kvara, there's Jude, there's Mbappe, um, Messi, well, up until a few years ago, Ronaldo up until a few years ago, Benzema up until a few, like those guys that you're like, yeah, they can almost single-handedly win you a Champions League. Um, Kvara, to some extent, Osimhen is still just that one step below, and I do think that they can be those kind of players that make the next step, but he's just gotta extract that still. But he's young, he's super young, so let's see. This was a really good thing by Napoli in the second half. Little 1-2, nothing happened, but again, very, very encouraging to see at least some kind of play, but nothing too crazy. And then this is the point that we were saying with Kvara, like he gets into these great positions, and how many times has he failed this shot this season? From this position, left foot, against Inter, against here against Braga, against Empoli. Maybe he had one of these as well in some other game, but there's at least three in the last month that he's missed from pretty much exactly this position with his left foot. And credit to him for trying, um, for insisting, but either every time he's unlucky and he's up against some great goalkeepers, or um, I don't know. I don't know what can be the problem here, guys. Because last year he was scoring these things, so I don't know. It's a strange one. It's a strange one for a guy that's so good, that's so talented. Um, but yeah, again, I just feel like he just needs that little bit of luck, guys. That little bit of luck, and he's gonna come good. he's gonna go with he's gonna go through a phase of scoring 5, 6 games in a row, but he needs that first one to go in. And then the last thing that I want to comment on about the game is really just the fact that in defense we conceded way too many headers, way too many crosses. This is in the second half. We're winning the game 2-0, and yet Braga have a clear chance with one of their players completely unmarked in the middle of the box, having a free header. And this is quite worrying that um, our defensive setup is just not there. It's We're so fragile when it comes to crosses coming in. Um, it's something that we got to fix. It's the number one thing. And yeah, we end the game with a clean sheet, but it's not good enough. We conceded way too many shots on by Braga. Anthony, welcome. Hey guys, for sempre missed the match, but glad to see we win 2-0. Positive, negatives of today. Why is Meret and Jesus still playing? And you'll be surprised. Jesus and Meret actually played pretty well. 2-0. If I had to summarize it, positive is the clean sheet. It's Natan at left back, had an incredible game, man of the match. Negatives is the fact that um, it seems like Kvara has still not unlocked his full potential this season yet. Still, that final thing missing from Kvara, and also that we concede way too many chances that Braga didn't take. But yeah, we need to fix those things. Let's go to the player ratings, guys, off the back of that. And um, yeah, overall, I gave pretty good pretty good scores to everyone. The subs, I just gave them a very straightforward 6 out of 10, which just means like very average. And that's simply because they came at a point where it was 2-0 for us. Braga at that point needed 4 goals to win. Plus, they knew that Real Madrid was getting a result against Union Berlin, so they were qualified. So, I mean, the game was done after 60 minutes. So, there was nothing to play for, and so whatever. Like the game was over, so I don't feel like giving them a score. Um, Osimhen 7.5 because he took the one chance that he had. He ran the channels quite well, and if his teammates had seen him, he would have actually been able to maybe score another goal. But Zielinski didn't see him, so but that's not his fault. I'll get to this question later. Let me just continue the player ratings. Natan, man of the match, 8.5. Incredible performance. Uh, Forward, backwards, one man show today, in my opinion. Juan Jesus and Meret actually did pretty well. They Every shot that came their way, they blocked. They did their job. Rachmani, though, still getting beat way too easily in headers. Di Lorenzo did well. Could have done better with some of his passing, but contributed to the first goal, playing the quick throw in, solid in defense. The midfield did well, nothing too crazy, but they were solid. And the wingers, Kvara and Politano, same thing. They put in a good shift. They dribbled well. They caused problems for the Braga defenders. Uh, they're missing that final you know, even though Politano got an assist technically with his cross, that cross didn't reach the intended target. The intended target was not for Braga to score an own goal. The intended target was for the ball to go to Osimhen, which it didn't. It went to a Braga player. So you can't really count that as an assist. But yeah, they just lack that final bit of quality. So yeah, let me get to from not playing. I have a feeling that Lindstrom is not maybe playing, well, for a few reasons. One, he had an injury right when Mazzarri came in, so he's missed that first part of integrating with Mazzarri. Um, third or second, sorry, I think that Mazzarri sees Elmas as a better right wing option than Lindstrom, which is where I saw Elmas at the start of the season when I did my season lineup sort of prediction. I actually thought Elmas should have been starting ahead of Politano, but Politano proved us wrong. He's been playing well this year. But I do like Elmas in that position. Um, so partly it's because he was injured at the wrong time. Partly it's because the guy he's competing with, Politano and Elmas, they're good players. They're not bad players. They've been in the club for a long time. And third, it's the fact that I think I think maybe when you a player like Lindstrom likes to play central, likes to get more central, and I have a feeling that um, maybe I don't know. Mazzarri is afraid that we lose a bit of width in the way that we attack. I don't know. I don't know. Mazzarri himself admitted that he has watched videos of Lindstrom, but that he's still trying to figure out his best position. Um, Elmas is a central midfielder. It depends. It depends. Sometimes he plays central midfield. Other times, he had some very good moments on the right wing in past years. For example, the goal of Raspadori against Juve starts with Elmas crossing from the right wing. There's many times that he's played, started, or got substituted as a right wing. Today is one of them. Elmas is a player that has many positions. Sometimes center mid, sometimes right wing, sometimes left wing. I personally see him as a right winger, not a typical right winger, but an atypical right winger. Um, a right winger that you would have on your team if you're not looking for so much speed and you're not looking for someone to go all the way down the touchline, but you are instead looking for a technical player that can help your midfield because maybe you need to crowd the middle a little bit more. Um, because at the end of the day, guys, in the modern day, football positions are very relative. I mean, like you could be a right back and then find yourself as a striker in when the game happens because it's all about what position you need to cover at any given time. Uh, Nowadays, players are not so rigid in their positions, but yeah, Lindstrom, I just feel like it's a matter of hierarchy. Politano and Elmas are just a little bit more. They have a bit more credit with the team, with the coaching staff, with the fans. It's a lot less risky to bring on. It's a lot less risky to bring on Elmas. Let's be honest. If you bring on Elmas, the stats prove that he's a good substitute. He was our third top scorer last season, and he was not starting most games. It was Osimhen, Kvara, and then Elmas. So how can anyone say why did you bring on Elmas? He's a goal scorer. He scores goals. It's very easy for a coach to put on Elmas. Whereas if you put on Lindstrom and he has a bad game, people are gonna be like, why didn't you put on Elmas? And then it's harder to justify. So yeah, positive aspects of Zielinski and things he should improve. I think Zielinski not necessarily improve, but he should shoot more. He's the only one of the three midfielders that actually has the potential to score goals from outside the box because he does have the quality to do so. I don't think he shoots enough, and I don't think that when he shoots, he does it at the optimal time. A lot of the times, I feel like he takes shots when the ball is kind of stuck underneath his feet, and he takes a lot of shots with his left foot, even though he's right-footed. And he barely takes shots from distance with his right foot, even though again he's right-footed. Um, he needs to find a way, or the team needs to find a way to put him in a position where he can take those long shots, a bit like Çalhanoğlu did against Inter, against us. He needs to be able to do that, because Lobotka's not going to do it, Anguissa's not going to do it, but long shots are super, super important, guys. All right, so that's that. Let's go to the last part of the show, guys, and thank you to everybody that has to stay with us. Let's see what Mazzarri and the players had to say after the game, and then we can wrap it up. So let's start maybe with Di Lorenzo first. Very quick one. He says about Osimhen, he says his flight to Morocco should not have tired him. It was an important trophy, and it was right that he went and picked it up. If anything, it gave him extra energy. For me, it's important what he shows on the field and in the training session. No one has ever questioned his professionalism. I'm happy that he's come back and scored. It's important for him. The objective was to win. That's good. So you see how Di Lorenzo is talking about how scoring goals is important for people. Like that's a very psychological element to the game. Like, okay, just get a goal, let's build from there, and then it's easier to score the next game if you already got a goal behind you. And it's the same with the defense about, okay, we got a clean sheet. Was it the smoothest clean sheet? No. It was a little bit lucky at times, yes, but it's a clean sheet. It just takes away a lot of pressure from the next game. And he continues to say, no one should criticize Kvara because what he's doing this season and what he's doing and what he did last season is incredible. Um, People nowadays are only looking at highlights, but if you look at what he does during the game, he's very important for us. He only needs a goal to liberate himself. And again, that's a very psychological aspect that also Di Lorenzo is mentioning. So we're saying the same things more or less, that these players are just, they need that psychological spark. So he's saying no one should criticize Kvara. I Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm saying. It's more. That's kind of what nobody should be criticizing Kvara. I disagree for people that criticize him, that say that he's useless or he's a liability. None of that. None of that. We can say he's missing some chances that he normally scores. That's not a criticism. That's just a fact, and that he could do a little bit better in defense covering for his teammates. But it's very that's very different than saying he's a liability, and that's kind of what Di Lorenzo is aiming at. Like no one should consider Kvara a liability. Hey, question from Napoli fan: do you think we should replace goalkeeper? Gabix says yes, we should. And actually, we were speaking about this about 20 minutes ago. So when this live is going to end in about 5-10 minutes, maybe try to go back to that part of the discussion. But yeah, I think we should go for someone a bit more experienced. Being a Napoli fan is very complicated. Yes, exactly. Let's go to Mazzarri's conference because we listened to Di Lorenzo. Let's see what Mazzarri had to say. Um, he says, "Look, I stay very compact and not create any spaces in between our lines. We worked very hard to do that. We also worked very hard to not concede any counterattacks against a team that's very good at counterattacks, and partly we managed to do that." Um, they ask him, "What do you expect to see in the next 2 months in terms of improvements?" And he says, "Look, I expect already some progress against Cagliari on Saturday. We know that it's going to be a tough game, and if you are not aggressive against these small teams, then you could actually end up with a bad result." They ask him, "Is this a game that boosts morale? And did Juan Jesus get substituted because he was injured?" And he says, Yes, he asked for the substitution, so we had to do it. I wanted to put on Zanoli, but I couldn't do that today. Juan Jesus asked to be subbed, so let's see how his situation is. It's not easy when the results don't come, but the performances have been good and similar to last year. So we've been working on recompacting the team and to try to make them do the same things that they were doing last season. I'm satisfied with what we did in this small amount of time that we had available with the team and against the opposition that we had in this past month. I asked the boys not to concede a goal, and I was really interested in defensive solidity today. Um, Braga could have even gone ahead against Madrid if they didn't mess up a penalty against them. So we knew that they were very good at attacking and a team that we had to respect. The boys today, um, they were almost perfect in that regard in terms of keeping concentration high, and actually we can confirm that. I mean, even at 2-0, they didn't drop off in concentration. Um, we want to be the team that we were last season. In some cases, the team was maybe losing the distance between the midfield, defense, and attack. Uh, and that was very bad to see, but that wasn't the case today. So I'm satisfied, and let's hope to do that against Cagliari as well. Then they ask him about Kvara and Osimhen, and he says they're fundamental to us. I'm happy today because I saw some progress. The team, um, the team also didn't suffer any counterattacks, and I saw a host of improvements. I'm very optimistic for the future, and Natan, about Natan, he has very important physical elements. He needs to be supported. He was a little bit demoralized after his recent performances. It's not easy going from Brazil to play against Inter and Juventus. Even Bremer, when I was coaching him at Torino, took a long time to adapt to the Serie A, and now look at the type of player that is. Natan to grow, and today he was the best player on the field. In defense, we're not perfect, I know, but we didn't concede too many chances. Although we still need to improve when we defend crosses, and we need to demonstrate that against Cagliari. And he says about the formation, it's great playing with a 4-3-3. It's my favorite formation, even though I never had the chance to play this earlier in my life. And it's correct that Napoli plays a 4-3-3 if they've got a player like Lobotka um, in the team. It's great playing like this, and I will continue to play like this. So that's Mazzarri, guys. I am about to there. And now we're ended there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have not yet liked the video and smashed that like button, do so. If you have not yet subscribed, then do so. And guys, we made it. We are into the next round of the Champions League. And guys, I hope you have a good one. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre.